could pause for a minute. I'm going to get you to listen, if you can, and stick to the end of this, because I think we're going to find some common ground on the fact that we're all wondering, are we living in crazy world, or is there some kind of secret agenda behind the scenes that's not making sense for conservatives and for Christians who have been watching things play out over the past few years? We're starting to wonder if there's not more to what we are being told. Right now, in the news, the things that are happening are starting to worry us about financial future. Grocery prices are going insane. Gas prices are crazy. The future of America with politics and voting is up in the air. All of this might seem boring until you go to the grocery store or you go to get gas, or every single morning you get up and you start to do your daily tasks. There is something that is eating at your soul. And I want to tell you something. It's being done on purpose.
Everyone knows something is wrong, but they don't know what to do about it. Every video report, every YouTube video, everything you see only provides the problem and leaves you hanging for the solution. The intelligence agency gives you a report that tells you what's really going on, things that are censored from the internet, things to protect your family, things to protect your business and your future finances. We give you a report in our newsletters that you cannot find anywhere unless you are paying thousands of dollars for a speculator or an analyst. And you can get it right now and protect your business and your family and the future of our country.
So I have begun to question a great deal about what's going on here, especially when it comes to things with the current president. Now, I know that all of you who are conservative would absolutely question the last presidents, but you find when they get out of office, they're all doing Photoshops and buddy and all that kind of stuff later on. They're all buddy later. So is it the same wings of the same bird? They're just playing it out, a Hegelian dialectic type of thing? Stick with me here, because none of this makes sense to you and it doesn't make sense to me. So here's our common ground. Donald Trump comes out and announces, of course, this huge bombshell that we had this huge election fraud that went on, and that 20 million votes were stolen, or information from voters, and the election was absolutely hijacked. But here's the oddity. It's being blamed on communist China. The issue I have, because working in the intel agency, we tend to look a little deeper behind the scenes, like who's really running the forces, not the surface level media puppets and things that is given to us. So they're blaming communist China on these election fraud things. All right. Well, who started communist Russia? Out of America, who paid for the Bolshevik Revolution, assassinated the czars, took over the country, and killed 60 million Christians. Who did that? All right. I'm not going to answer it here, but I think if you look into it, and not ask AI, but really look into it, you're going to find that it's the problem we're having in our own country. So now let's take a look. Communist China. Well, who went over and helped Mao formulate communist China? Well, the same people who helped formulate communist Russia. How many millions of people died when Mao took over? Mass human suffering and death. Okay, so we're working on a pattern. So recently, I found a quote from Benjamin Netanyahu, who said, America will be forced to unite its military with Israel. All right, and they have, I forget what it's called, Project Samson, where if Israel looks like it's going to go down, or if America stops defending it or whatever, they're just going to nuke the world and just destroy the whole world. Kind of like their program that if somebody gets, before they let Israelis get held captive, they'll just kill everybody, including the citizens. Take note of that, because that has a lot to do with what happened in Germany. There was a lot of people. See, negotiations took place in Germany to get all of the people. Hitler said, look, just take them all, put them on boats, ships, whatever you got to do. You can take them to Israel and they can have all their money and they can go live there. But the people doing that negotiation wanted to leave some behind for a reason. You never hear about that, do you? So they sacrificed some to fortify a narrative amongst themselves and amongst the public. So this Bolshevik Revolution was left out of our understanding and learning through all of our schooling years. We know nothing about it other than it was a bunch of communists. And we know nothing about the Mao Revolution that killed all these millions of people. Partially because Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, controlled the printing and all of the information that went into the history books, mostly for the Western nation. And of course, he was an agent for a particular small country. This is just intelligence work, people. This is just knowledge that a lot of people already know, but this is trying to work from a common ground here of understanding where we're not in combat with things. Do you understand? Because I once believed a certain methodology, a certain belief system, because that's what I was taught, and it was taught to be patriotic and faithful and all of these things. And my pastor taught a certain level of information, and it was all wrong. It was psyops. You know, these televangelists have been years since the 1950s paid off to teach a certain message. So anyway, the question remaining before us. So now we have a war in Iran, which we were told when we voted that there would be no more wars. But what happened? All of a sudden we find ourselves in this war. And what's absolutely amazing is how many people are falling for the idea that this is somehow patriotic or protecting America. We have had all of these inspectors going over there and inspecting continuously this country of Iran to make sure they didn't have nuclear weapons. And they didn't, because if they did, it would have been frontline information. And all of a sudden now, the president is on TV talking about how they stopped or ended all of it. Iran wasn't about to blow up anybody. Iran wasn't starting a war with anyone. They were just being Iran, just like any other country in the world. And all of a sudden, we're getting information about how we stopped them from a nuclear war. This is... Okay, so I'll keep it simple. This is called PSYOPs. This is called psychological operations. Now, once one person dies in a war, now we're in a war and you can't question it. Once something started, you have to stick to the narrative or you're not patriotic. So, but what's happening is now Americans are noticing that they can hardly afford groceries because this is being used as an excuse. It's not always a reality, the increases in prices. It's an excuse to do things for profit. So the grocery prices go up. How much oil were we using from Iran to start with to raise all the prices of fuel? They just jack it up. You have to understand how this works. War equals jacking up prices. The prices of food or fertilizer and all this stuff is in question now. And we knew this going into it, and our president would have known this going into it, that the ends don't justify the means for the American people. So what I'm getting at here is that decisions are not being made for you and me. Decisions aren't being made to make America great again. Decisions aren't being made for that. Decisions are being made for the same people who implemented the Bolshevik takeover in Russia that led to millions of people dying. Same pathway that led to the takeover in China. And these news stories that are coming out are cover-ups for all of that. Because this particular country is in a desperate situation now, I would say nearly every single country has listed it now as the most hated country on the planet. They have no support. And they've done this to themselves. Remember watching, for those of you who ever watched Star Wars, and Anakin Skywalker was blaming Obi-Wan Kenobi for turning her against Anakin Skywalker. And Obi-Wan looks at him and says, Anakin, you have done that to yourself. What we are looking at here is a good parody looking at Star Wars as to how Israel and the people in it view themselves, or for anywhere in the world where you find these people living. They have an Anakin Skywalker viewpoint of things, that someone else has caused other people to hate them and has nothing to do with their own actions or anything evil they've done. You know, to them, it has nothing to do with the fact that they went into the Jedi temple and killed everyone, including the children. That's all justified to them. Do you get where I'm going with this? So I want you to look at these things that are taking place. An Iran war that no American wants and is hurting every American right now. And now we have these things where Trump in his talk started blasting out again about these data centers. $17 trillion they are talking about investing into these things. And did you know that most of the ones in China that were built are already obsolete or sitting vacant? There's a reason for this. These things were being told. Why are these things being told? One of them alone can suck up 150 billion gallons of water. You know that that will destroy the ecology surrounding any town or city. If they know that these things are going to go obsolete, they're investing all of our wealth into them. It sounds like purposeful bankruptcy to drain the coffers to nothing so that they can start a new currency, which is the exact reason they started a war with Iran, because Israel has been trying to get a central bank that they control in that nation for 80 years now, and their regimes would not allow it. So they killed off the regime leaders and started a war, and they're going to keep hammering them until they get that bank. They did that to Gaddafi. Abraham Lincoln was going to get rid of the bank, and they ended him. John F. Kennedy was going to get rid of the central bank in America, and that was the end of him. This is just trying to reach common ground with you so that you understand what's going on here.
Everyone knows something is wrong, but they don't know what to do about it. Every video report, every YouTube video, everything you see only provides the problem and leaves you hanging for the solution. The intelligence agency gives you a report that tells you what's really going on, things that are censored from the internet, things to protect your family, things to protect your business and your future finances. We give you a report in our newsletters that you cannot find anywhere unless you are paying thousands of dollars for a speculator or an analyst. And you can get it right now and protect your business and your family and the future of our country.
Just common ground. The data centers, they know before they invest. There's no way that the president and the minions behind him don't already know what I know. They already have technology about the size of about 8 inches by 2 inches square that can act as, for $250, can be your own personal AI system in your house. They've already built them. They're on the market. We do not need data centers for AI or any of that stuff. They already have built them in these compact. The technology is there. It's already surpassed data centers. So the only logical conclusion outside of that is someone is building a weapon to destroy the environment, to possibly be used to run something else, robotic tracking system, enslavement positioning. Who knows what they're really being put there for? But it is logically and by statistical probability, it is something nefarious, something that destroys. No Christian, no logical person would sit and say, okay, we need to use this data. And if the equivalent amount of data that it needs to use could be, let's say, the size of a single house, could run all of this right now, and they could just place a house somewhere. A data center could be the size of a house and it could run everything. Then why are they manufacturing these things that are going to destroy our environment and force everybody into 15-minute cities? There is a reason. If you've stuck this far right now, I'm trying to reach common ground. I'm trying to help you understand that there is something more than the story the news is giving us. We know that Charlie Kirk, in an interview, and the reason he disappeared, said that the media is all controlled by the same people. So we're looking at a collective agenda for everything that's going on. And it's trying to suck your finances dry. It's trying to enslave you and make you feel helpless, like you can't do anything. Have you ever wondered why all of a sudden these Klaus Schwab people keep showing up in America? Here is America the free, with all of these people who think constitutional and freedom and all of this. Yet the media runs these stories nonstop. And there is this message underlying that you will own nothing and like it. And this is absolutely contrary to every American's belief system. Why is it being put in front of us nonstop in America? Would Christians running networks allow this? Would Christians maintaining government allow these messages to be put out? Would we facilitate and let our corporate leaders attend these meetings? I would say that if Christians were running things, not televangelist level Christians, not hypocritical level fake Christian, I'm talking about Christians running the politics, the government, running the corporate organizations. See, Christians would see this for what it is. They would be like, hey, you know what? This ends and this ends right this second. And if we declare a war on something, it would be a war on anti-Christian, anti-moral, and anti-constitutional beliefs. But the media, and in fact, did we just see that Congress unanimously voted, amongst the Conservative Party anyway, to merge the United States military with Israel's military? My friend, you have just witnessed treason amongst political leaders. They have been voted in office or placed in office to represent your feelings and beliefs. And I can guarantee you, unless you're a dual citizen and living in New York, you do not want a foreign, and in fact, some of them don't even want it. You don't want a foreign military who would genocide a people merged with your own. You don't want a foreign military leader telling your people where they're going to live or die and what to do. And yet your congressmen, who are probably on the Epstein list, bought and paid for it this time, voted in a treasonous act that should have you going insane right now. The most absurd thing that has probably happened in 200 years in America. If you can't see that there is a pattern going on that is not the same as your conservative constituents are barking at you, if you can't see that there is a pattern to reflect on where blame is being shifted off of the most extremely obvious perpetrator who has taken over multiple countries in the past couple hundred years and been thrown out, if you can't see that our history has been manipulated so that they can do what they are doing, everyone knows right now that there is an extreme problem with our Congress and a lobbying group from this country that is causing our votes and our laws and our systems and our method of governing and our decisions for war or not war is being swayed. It's being swayed by a group that is playing both sides of the political realm. And if you can reflect on that, if you can have some personal verification into this, that a false message was entered into your religious teaching. Completely opposite. Did you know the words Israel did not exist in the Bible ever? It was recently placed into that English version because it was called Judea. But it was placed in there in the Schofield Bible, and now it's found in all these Bibles. So you think psychologically it's the same place as back then. The word Jew did not exist in the Bible. That's a recent made-up word for a people who worship a religion that didn't get formed until 150 years after Jesus' crucifixion. Because before then, it was a religion that centered around temple worship. And now you have a made-up religion for a group of people who follow that religion, which was not the same religion as when Jesus was around. And the people have a different name for themselves that represents that religion and that connection. I don't know if you would call it cultural appropriation or not, but I'm just laying out the facts so you can understand. And within this religious belief system is the belief that it must and has to take over the world because the entire earth has been given to them by God. Now we know that the God of the Bible has not done this, because when Jesus was speaking about the parable of the vineyard, he called the people living in that land tenants, that the land was God's and it belonged to the inheritor, Jesus. He told this story explicitly. For any of you who are questioning, you can reflect on the parable of the vineyard. The tenants were kicked off the land. That's the end of the story. At no point in time in this story, with anybody with common sense, if the tenants had killed the son, and the story goes that what would the father do to these wicked tenants for doing that? He definitely wouldn't allow them to come back and happily live on the land and claim that God gave it to them. Can you understand the simplicity of the story as to how you might have been fooled into a certain belief system and that it is incorrect? Not trying to fight you. I'm allowing you to have reflection on this because I had to struggle for a while till I realized not only did Jesus tell the story, but in every active faction, you can find that we have a free report. Grab it.